My dearest friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Kaija from Heart to Heart, and I'm back with the fifth Heart to Heart talk. And I have a beautiful guest. I have Tia Dawn with me. Tia, I'm so happy that you're here today. Would you like to introduce yourself a bit?
Hi, my name is Tia Dawn. I've been working on this journey for about 8 years now. And I channel and I'm a healer. I'm an energy architect, grid keeper. I do a lot of little things for the collective. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And I would like, so we had a little chat before, and I would like to talk or to tell you how we met, because this is a funny story or a beautiful story. We met over comments we made on a post on Facebook. And for me, it was so interesting because it was a post, there was a photo, as I remember, of a situation. I think it was a political situation. And with a comment, something like how that there's something frightening in this picture and how we would feel. And I was feeling in, and I felt this fear as well. And I make a comment, and I read the other comments that were a bit in the same direction. And then I read your comment, and it was really interesting because you had another angle to look at it. And it was so interesting as I feel trapped in this post instantly, because you discovered, of your point of view, was that how the post was made, how it was written, was already manipulating. Maybe you would like to talk about, to tell about that, when you felt at that moment.
So when I looked at the post, it wasn't the I felt the fear. It was like a wave of fear or whatever. But because I'm not, I like to look things just a little deeper, a few layers deeper. And then if I don't have a satisfactory answer, I go a little deeper. And there's a saying that says, consider the source. And so when you go through and you look at the source and what they represent and what they're sort of talking about, it's important to know that when you put information out there, we have an intention that we put out with that information. And if we don't always recognize that we're doing that, then it can be very powerful. And especially as we are light workers, as they say, we have a lot of power. We have a lot of, in my personal opinion, we have a responsibility to be super aware of the intention that we're putting out there. And if we want people to really believe us, we'll put an intention that, this is the truth. And no matter what it is, that's sort of the energy with it. And so I feel like it's important to, if I can say, oh, but wait, what's going on here? And there's a reason why when we call it spelling, when we write words out, it's called spelling, because our words are magic. Our intentions are magic. And it's just important to be able to call it out, especially if you see it, or not even calling it out, because I don't even like that energy so much, but the whole idea of questioning it, or giving an opinion, or giving people just say, well, wait a minute, I'm not necessarily feeling this, but I'm feeling this too. And that allows others to say, oh, well, wait a minute, what am I feeling? How am I, what's my relationship with this information?
Yeah, what I found interesting, what I remember that you wrote something like, I can't feel fear when I just see the picture, but when I write the notion above, I feel the intention to put fear in it. And it was so, for me, so interesting, as I studied filmmaking. So I really studied how you can change the meaning of a picture, if it's a living picture or still, with music, what is really emotional, and with words, and how you can make huge manipulation
Yeah.
in media. And we had a chat then over your post, and I had really quickly, I was driven, or the impulse, to contact you, and I PM'd you then, and this idea to have a chat with you. And in the meantime, I think it's been more than a month that we had this chat. We met sometimes, we had some beautiful chats, interesting, really interesting. And I was a bit ashamed in that moment when I was that I not, it was not a deep shame, but I felt myself how easily I get trapped.
Right. Yeah. Right. All of us do. It's human nature to want to
Yes.
believe what we read. You know, we we connect, and it is I'm the more the conversation's coming back, because like you said, we've talked a few times, and I was just astounded by your reaction to it, because you brought in all this information about your filmmaking, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, because that's what's happening right now with how we're receiving news, and how we're um, you know, even like books and movies and shows, it's reflecting our emotions and
Mhm,
our how we see the world, how we view our how we're living right now
mhm,
is you know, absolutely going to be reflected in art. But art also, you know, it directs us, it gives us a way forward, it opens up our mind and our imagination to move forward, like Star Trek, you know, all
agree.
these ideas that came from Star Trek, you know, and you know, it's sort of like this ongoing infinity loop, right? We're always
Mhm,
coming back to the center point where everything's possible, and it, you
mhm.
know, starts in imagination first, or reality first, and then it grows, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, there was a beauty in that as well. Yeah, as I tell you, I felt a bit ashamed. And in the meantime, there was this, yes, Kaya, take care. Just don't take everything you, don't stay on the surface. Have a
Yep.
look deeper. Normally you can do that, but there I was just seeing the picture, reading the text, and I said, yes, 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 it's frightening. It's frightening. And not seeing that it was a text giving the frightening connotation, not the picture itself.
Right. Yeah.
And as you say, so we had a little chat before. You live in the Washington area, and what is going on at the moment in the media with the election in the US and with COVID and all. So I'm really aware that it's better not to trust what is in the news and how pictures and informations are put together.
Right. You know, it's not that I wouldn't say you shouldn't trust the media, or not that you totally should. I think that it's a matter of discernment. There's going to be there's times I don't really watch the news anymore, I should say, but but I do I lock into the energy of whatever's going on around me, and I do this automatically, so I don't always realize that I'm doing it. Um, but sometimes I'll walk through a room, and the news will be on, and all I hear is fear, 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 fear,
Mhm.
fear, fear. So, and it's so loud and obnoxious to me. And I don't think it matters where your news source is. It's wherever sensationalism is, because
Mhm.
this is where I think, mm, from my perspective and from what I've been shown from my guides and my higher self, we are addicted to drama.
Yes, absolutely.
Drama. If there's not a bad guy and we're the good guys, because we're always going to be the good guys, right? We're always going to have our white hats on, and we can't be the bad guy of our story, because our ego can't handle that. We have to be the good guy. And
Mhm.
so whoever's on the other side automatically is going to be the bad guy, because that's the and this is, I think, where our conversation went afterwards, is that's the mainframe of how our brain works.
Mhm.
That we have this old style of good versus evil competition. How we gauge and how we see the world is always going to be through this very specific and competitive back and forth tug of war mindset. And we are being given the opportunity to rise above that.
Mhm.
And for me, I struggled for a long time trying to marry the masculine and feminine, yin and yang sort of ideas of unity with this mainframe idea of there's good and there's evil, because
Mhm.
those things are always verses.
Mhm.
Um, and how we gauge, success, and how we gauge what is good and what is real, it's always going to be this, because I know that's not real. Not,
Mhm.
they have to have that um, the presentation of what isn't, so that we know what is, versus just going in and feeling into it and that being the reality. Um, we like to know who's losing, so we know who's winning. Uh,
Mhm.
how we measure success, how we measure happiness. And these are all external things. These aren't things that we keep inside and feel inside, because we're, again, addicted to drama, and drama keeps us outside ourselves.
Yeah, it's what I get these images is really this duality system on black and white, and when you're talking an image coming up for me, that my father in the last lockdown, he's living in Germany in a little village, tiny village, and with with his wife they have a beautiful garden, and he called me and said, yes, everything is perfect, we're working in the garden the whole day, we are happy, in the evening we're watching the news and we get frightened. I just told him, just stop watching the news. Simple.
Six there, right? Yeah, right. And but that's how we gauge the world. Where's the world at? And excuse me, the COVID thing is, there's so much fear around it. And as you and I were talking about, regardless of who made it, it's always the light that's going to be taking whatever tools it's given and making the most of it, and really empowering people to change who they are, and showing them where they fear, showing where they're afraid, and how they can move forward with that fear and that information and that mindset and that, I don't know, idealisms, or they could change it and not do that. And that's a scary thing for people, to think that they have that much control of themselves. But ultimately, we're supposed to have that much responsibility. We're just not used to doing
Yeah,
it. And
because this is bringing your point of view of the world upside down.
right,
When you
right,
understand you have an influence and you have power over your life,
right.
and it's not the power, it's not outside, and you fulfill something,
Yeah.
this is deeply frightening on a level.
Well, and we've taught that everything is outside of us. Our connection to God or source or whatever you want to call it, is outside of us. Our guides are outside of us. And when people do talk about their soul, it's really interesting, because it's always sort of this non-realistic thing that's sort of out there, that's floating around, but really it's anchored inside of us. And the more we connect and make room, and that means not as much drama, that means not as much energy or attention, that we're paying attention, we're
Mhm.
spending our energy uh, on the outside, trying to control those things that are on the outside, but really it's the inside that we have or the only real control over.
And at the end, for me, also to find the world inside.
Exactly, everything's a mirror, right?
Yeah.
And we're enormous inside. I mean, when you start making room and paying attention and quieting the inner critic, or right, the monkey chatter,
The
when you
great mind.
when you realize that that is not who we are, that is almost a defense mechanism that we've built up over time as a species over centuries. This is this is the way life is. This is the only options we have. So we have to create our identity within that. And then that identity our ego learns, what is painful and what is not painful. And that's literally its only job, is to keep us safe. Being happy is not painful, so we want that. Being unhappy is extraordinarily painful. And so we go through and we make all these decisions based on what's happy or what's painful and what's not painful. And then we don't know why we do certain things or why we're drawn to certain things and other people are, not. Why we have relationships the way we do, or the way we attract certain people at certain times of our life.
I think this is interesting as well. What's coming up for me is with my consciousness that I can create my reality. I have this consciousness and I'm still conditioned.
Oh, yeah.
Not on every level, but on some levels it's not everything is healed. And to deal with this, and this is sometimes like I make an experience, what is unpleasant, and I've got the feeling I have no power. Just I told you before, I had really interesting experience with technicians here who should repair my internet over 4 weeks, and it was amazing how they didn't take responsibility. They didn't listen to ideas I had for simple solutions, and to be on a point like this and then thinking, okay, I'm the creator of my reality. What means that I am here with a man in front of me and I just ask him to find a simple solution. I have an idea and this man is not listening at all, and say, no, it's not my responsibility. I have to call another one, maybe not. And to bring this together is sometimes not so easy. And to have the look for the higher perspective and see how even this experience are part of the world in a matter of conditioning to show you something, belief systems. So maybe I believed still that technicians will not listen to me. So I had the perfect mirror, for men.
Right.
And then to make a next step and say, okay, I'm in this. I feel powerless. I feel like a victim again a bit. What is my radius here? What can I make different than before?
Yeah. Yeah.
And to gain power over this again.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were talking about the letter that you wrote, and I had gotten, when you first told me that, I had gotten this whole thing about asking for permission. I think I kind of misunderstood initially what you had meant, but I got this really strong message about asking for permission. And I don't think it was asking them for permission, but asking yourself for permission to be this stronger voice, to be this stronger influence.
It's
And
interesting that you say that. I will quickly explain to people listening what this letter is, that they can follow us. So what I decided after 5 weeks without internet and incredible experiences, that I do something what is in France really a hard thing. I wrote a letter with a history of all what happened and not happened. And then you send it with a recommendation. I don't know how it's called in English, or if this is existing in England. In France, this is really something, when you write a letter like this, they have to sign up when they get that letter. It's like a juristic document. So then you say, and what was really empowering for me in this writing this letter, even it took a lot of time, because writing in French is for me still such a challenge, is to say, it was a point in me to say, stop, I don't play your game any longer. And if I have to write this letter, because this is in the system here in France, the point to stop it, then I will write this letter now.
Right.
And the next day I had internet. And this was really interesting. And I had a technician coming, a new one. He didn't knew anything about this letter, but he was willing to find a solution, and he found it instantly.
Spelling.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Writing is incredibly powerful. When I worked through a lot of my my traumas and my triggers and whatnot, writing letters and writing, it just, there's something really magical about it, about putting that down. I prefer pencil because there's something about the natural wood of when you write. It's almost like an affirmation that you tell yourself, but there's so much emotion, and that means that there's a lot of energetic intention behind it. And when we talked about the original post where we met, you could feel her compassion, or her need to bring this information forward, which probably felt like compassion to her.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are all sort of having our little perspectives, right? So I think initially I was like pretty, I even said something like I would be very cautious about whatever information she puts out. And I don't necessarily feel bad about that, because I do feel like she had a lot of people listening to her, and still does. But we need to also have a sense of compassion for where people are at, because they are providing a service. They are providing that mirror for us to show us where we are at in our own ego and our own experience. So, that higher perspective also says everything's perfect, everything's great. It feels like it's falling apart to our ego, but not, it's not real. It's an illusion. Everything's perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
it's beautiful. And what is coming up for me, the woman who has wrote these initial posts, I found beautiful that you said that she might have been compassionate and convinced for herself, because she felt that fear, or there was fear connected to the pure image for her to give this out, to share this with the world. And there's nothing evil or bad in this. And this was the beauty, what I found in the exchange of the comments, and there were other people coming in our discussion there, that this was opening up so much of, okay, interesting, what can we see, what can be another layer, and what is doing this post with every one of us personal.
Mhm.
So, and there's a resonance when I feel fear as well. So then I can have a look, what is frightening me?
Right?
So,
Yeah. The ego gets a really bad rap. I know, because I used to feel that way. I um, I've gone through a long history of trying to eradicate it from my life initially. I think as we all do, kind of. And then we get to a point where we've sort of conquered our old ego cycles. What I don't think a lot of people, or at least I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, realize is the ego is not going anywhere. It's always going to remain with us. And in fact, it is an incredibly important part of our experience here, because it learns. the ego is a student of everything. It sees everything. And every time we grow, the ego grows with us. So, and I'll give you an example. I don't want to, let's say I smoked and I didn't want to smoke anymore. So I kind of like, I released whatever ego attachments I had to smoking. If it was like a way to communicate or a way to relax, and now I meditate, whatever it is. So now I feel like I'm not in those sort of patterns of needing to separate myself from people, or I get so stressed out that I need a time to just for myself, center myself. The ego actually doesn't drop that need. It adjusts what your patterns are into the next thing. And so that ego desire to take a deep breath and relax is now coming onto a different set of ideas and beliefs. It doesn't go away, it adjusts. And so I spent a long time trying to figure out what the role of the ego plays within the human, excuse me, the soul and the ego, how they work together, and what is the information, what is the new yin and yang, masculine, feminine unity version of ego. What does it do in that sense versus the old paradigm of versus and conflict and competition? What new role is it going to play? And I was told very specifically that it is an interpreter of the soul's information, the soul wisdom that we receive. It interprets that information into our external world.
Interesting.
So it's this incredibly intelligent and powerful part of ourselves that can be translated into the world. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like a outward versus everything's coming in and I'm only seeing what's happening in my world and it's coming inside my internal world. It's the other way around.
This sounds for me like an integrated ego. I don't know if this is a good term. So just I see the ego always as a protection mechanism as well. Sure. So that is a bit misinformed in a way.
Right.
So right. That we had as I often say, explored a way of protect ourselves as children to save our lives. Right. In a really amazing, creative way. That these protection mechanisms are blocks later in our life when we are adults, and that the ego is stepping in often in moments when we try to step out of these blocks, to melt these blocks, to make new experiences, to discover what else is possible. And then the ego is coming and saying, no, we don't go there. No. We had this really bad experience when we were 5 years old.
Yes.
We will not repeat that.
Right.
And this is for me a way, I'm not always able to do that, but to be like in conversation with my ego and say, yes, I listen, I see you, I see the 5-year-old Kaija as well. And she had a really big experiences and it was painful, and we will not repeat it.
Right.
We will make slow and little steps to go in a new direction. And you come with me and you can tell me all the time, it's dangerous. I hear you.
Right.
What not means that I listen to you or that I follow your advice, but I hear you.
Yeah.
So on a very practical way, what I discovered for myself, and as I say, I'm not always capable to be that aware.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful, and that's very much what I've experienced too.
Mm-hmm.
That having to really integrate and love my ego, and that was a part of my desire to love myself and to open up the conversation and to um, you know, the ego does die. The ego dies with the body. The soul is, you know, we don't die as a soul. And how we have been raised is to believe that our identity is the ego.
Mm-hmm.
But our real identity, our where we are with this new sort of operating system, is the soul based. So the soul is never afraid, it's never happy, it's never sad. It is this continuous love force energy that
Mm-hmm.
we are constantly all connected. We're always safe, we're always in unity. There's never any of this drama. Um, so it's a matter of, first of all, pulling yourself away from those circumstances that constantly pull you into that drama, and then
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the power of the ego. Incredibly powerful, because how you interpret yourself either will, you know, send you into great things, or it could send you right into the ground, right?
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah, it's beautiful. And just
Yeah.
what I hear, and what makes sense for me to see the ego as an important part of me, not to separate myself and say I'm well, in my essence I'm pure soul and love and nothing else, and the rest is I'm not really that.
Right.
This ego stuff and this duality and black and white. So this was put it over me, and I have to deal with this a bit. But I'm pure light in my essence. And
I'm so good.
yeah, and
And you can
this I have met light worker, love worker speaking like this about themselves, and it is always frightening me. And I
it's
say,
all your ego that's speaking.
you know, we have this human aspect, and we are
Right.
conditioned, and we have chosen human experiences, human families, human parents, human partners, and to integrate this in our being as well, and to accept this and to see the beauty in this.
Mm.
For me, it's always what I feel, what is so pure human is to feel. This is something what is really specific for our species, that we are able to feel. But it's not always fun.
Yeah.
We can
Mm.
feel pain and anger and frustration and all this as well in high levels. And
Yeah.
the more sensitive you are and the more trauma you have experienced in your life, the deeper can the pain be. And on the other hand, pain is teaching compassion with ourselves and others. And I haven't met a light or love worker, or however you will call yourself, who is not
Right.
deeply traumatized, who has not went through deep, deep, deep pain and very painful experiences in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, and how we experience pain is so often, you know, in service to other people, and in service to um, the collective. When we feel something really, really deeply, it's well, I suppose I'm just talking from my personal perspective, because I didn't understand what an empath was until I was 30, and I'm 40 now. But um, this this idea that life never made sense, and it was like I was never sure why I was feeling what I was feeling. There was a lot of, as you say, trauma and past life stuff, as we've talked about. But I always felt like a victim. I always felt like stuff was happening to me and not for me, and I didn't know how to take responsibility for that. And so once I started learning how to do that and recognizing that, um, I think that's almost more painful when you start recognizing that it's your fault and your responsibility and you should have been doing it. Gosh, all your problems are really they're your fault. And then,
Yes, not a fault. I think this is really hard to say, but that you have made them for a purpose, and that it's
right.
up to you to learn out of them,
All
or
right.
or to get stuck in the victim mentality.
Yeah. One of the most powerful instruments that I came across from teachers and just experience is a book called Radical Forgiveness. And this
Mm-hmm.
was it wasn't just forgiveness in the sort of biblical sense where I forgive you, but I'm going to remember what you did. I won't let anybody do that again. It's no, it's I forgive you and I thank you for the experience. And in fact, I love you for doing that, for teaching that for me and making yourself miserable for putting yourself through that misery so I can learn that lesson. That's
Mm-hmm.
the level of responsibility ultimately all of us will be going to. I know I still have to sometimes. And then of course I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you.
Ho'oponopono.
So I've definitely utilized that one to death.
And to see that it is a way to come to this point of this radical forgiveness, and that
Yeah.
you can't practice it like a concept. It is really a way that needs a lot of inner work. And what I realized for myself is I have had a really painful breakup. It's nearly 1 year, and I start now, and it's about 11 months after, to really like feeling a bit detached and seeing him and what happened and me from a wider perspective. I
Yeah.
tried that before and I could have this wider look, but it was still really detached to my pain.
Right.
And there, what's coming up there for me is to trust in divine timing as well, to have patience, a lot of patience with ourselves, to trust that things will get better when you go through a deep pain, and that also that needs time, that you can't decide I will radical forgive now and maybe do it in your head. Your ego is really ready to forgive,
Right.
but the rest of your system is still so in pain and anger and feeling unjust justice, whatever came up with this. And this is the onion. I think we talked a lot. I talk a lot of this, that you go in layers. Healing
Yeah.
is going in layers, and then you come to a deeper level and see the next level. And sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm again on that point. No, not again.
Right.
Without realizing that it's maybe the same pain, the same point, really similar experience, but you are already a level deeper. You heal a level deeper as well. And then you
Right.
can go deeper again, and it needs time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because I'm actually hearing two different perspectives on this. It's like on one hand, the ego wants to be done with it because it doesn't like pain and you are in pain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay, I'm all done with this pain now. Let's move on to something else.
Yes.
Because on one level, pain is very uncomfortable. On another level, pain is extraordinarily beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been into uh, the kind of pain that I've experienced, and I don't wish this on anybody, of course. It was exquisitely painful. It was to the point of being uh, beyond. I wasn't able to stay rational. I had a mental break in 2012 or 2011, excuse me, and the pain, I started recognizing that it was becoming a pattern. And And because it was painful, it actually switched to being uncomfortable to being comfortable.
Yeah.
And when I wasn't in pain, and I know that before I, quote unquote, woke up, there were things that I would do to myself that was painful, but it was comfortable because it kept me from connecting to people. I stayed in this painful state. Um,
Yeah.
whatever that means to be not self-aware, whatever that means to be not, because change is extraordinarily painful.
And frightening.
And
Totally
terrible.
frightening. You go into the unknown, you go to a place you don't know, and this is what I was a bit so the beauty and the pain. I don't know if I can relate to this. I have no reference, but the comfort in the pain, I can totally relate to that. And the comfort in the victim, I can really, really relate. Because when you're in the victim, and I'm nearly 50 now, I think I was over 40 years of my life in a victim state.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I know this state very well, and this is for sure you don't feel very really well, but it is really comfortable because you're not able to change anything. So you don't have to.
Right. You don't take responsibility. You don't have to do the hard things that get you out of your comfort zone. Right. Yeah. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. But really, it is the devil's all inside of you, and it's really just your ego, and it's really just a hurt inner child. It's just really a pattern that you picked up from your parents. And I believe that we teach our children how to have an ego, to use the ego the way we use it now. And that
For sure.
when we go through our soul openings, and the work that you do specifically, and we've talked about this, it's really like, it's a little sneaky, not in a bad way, but like it's really under the radar.
Now it becomes interesting for me.
It's so under the radar, but the more we open up our hearts, the more area that the soul can come in and feel comfortable. It's not exactly the same energy. I feel like, and this is some information I think I gleaned after one of our last conversations, is whenever I think about my ego, it comes through my throat. Like if I'm especially in my ego, my throat will be very, my voice will be just a little higher, a little more tinny, I'll talk faster. I'll lean forward. I'll be like, ooh, you have to listen to me. But when I'm in my heart, it's like everything's relaxed. My shoulders are relaxed. The information that I receive, it goes through my throat, but also down into my heart and comes out. And in that space of time, and I've actually done this exercise with a few people who are really feeling like in a cycle, like they're really like feeling that deep, this is the way it is, and how, blah, really in their obstinacy, I would say. I'm like, okay, stop what you're doing, take a deep breath, put your hands over your heart, and say those things again. And what that does is when we put our hands, because our hands are incredibly powerful, put our hands over our heart and we focus on where our hands are. And if we say it, we can't say the same things. We don't use the same words. We don't use the same energy. And the more we get used to opening this space up, for me, my soul is actually right underneath my my heart chakra, right between my solar plexus and heart chakra. And I feel that information sort of bubble up, and it comes up, and then this is where my ego is now. Instead of in my throat, it's now in my heart. I'm able to bring in some of these more deeper vibrations of that last longer. These vibrations last longer, and you have this, as I said before, this energy that just, it comes in, and it's so soft. It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. And I could be talking to you and then you're actually working on me opening up my heart, which
Thank
is
you
what
very
happened.
much. This is touching me. So, and I understand more and more that this is one of the gifts I have, that this is nothing what I do.
Right.
And what I can relate totally to that my voice is changing as well. So I have never made this connection like you have this clear consciousness that this is your ego when your voice is changing. But I can feel when I'm more grounded, when I'm more settled, when I'm more connected with myself, my voice is different
It
than,
goes a little deeper. Yeah.
yeah, it sings as well. It's
Yeah.
and I was also speaking long time of my life, really not very low and then very high and like a little frightened mice. And it comes back sometimes still. And I'm more and more aware now when I say, okay, Kai, you have to ground, you have to go in what's happening here. It's a good reminder. And the other thing what I found beautiful when you show this with the hands of your heart, you think there's one thing that's the power of the hands, and I think we have the heart in the hands as well. And
Yeah.
then very simple, the effect that you touch your heart brings awareness to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Can't any longer stay just here when you touch yourself and when you feel here's my heart and your heart beating, and maybe I feel the vibration of my voice now as well.
Yeah.
It's bringing you back in the body instantly.
We are all, I mean, our vibration is incredibly powerful. And especially because, as we move into our more awareness, our power becomes more pure. It's less filtered through the ego. I sort of think of the ego in sort of the old paradigm way as sort of wearing these glasses, and some of them are rose colored and some of them are like
Mm-hmm.
completely black and you can barely see through them. That's my ego glasses. And
Mm-hmm.
um, when we get out of that, when we pull it down and we start saying, um, I have a friend of mine that was years ago. She had said something to me, and it was like she's not really into spirituality, but it's like you can see how it's influencing everybody right now, and it's amazing. It's really beautiful. Um, she uses a match, no match. Does this match me or does it not match me? And if it doesn't, then you just move on. And that's it. There's no drama. There's no, do I need this? And that was like, I mean, that was the simplest way I've ever heard that sort of attachment belief system explanation talked about, is this no match. It's like
And
swipe right. You know what I mean?
I get two things coming up for me. What was always the question: does it feel good or not?
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I got a body test. I haven't long time done it, but it's come back that when I do this and I say yes, and I try to separate, yes, it's not possible. And when I say no,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
no, I can't hold it. And yes, I have forgot that. Interesting. And
I
sometimes it's different. Sometimes the no is more attached than the yes. Everybody has to find out for himself. This is
right,
something I did a lot when I was not sure about things.
right.
And then I was often so that I wanted yes and it was a no. And then, okay.
Yes, I want yes. Yeah.
The
No, I
ego, the ego.
yeah, right. And for me that didn't make sense because I needed the complicated. I was addicted to the drama. I was addicted to the struggle. That was actually a piece that I wrote like 2 years ago. Are you addicted to the struggle? Are you addicted to the drama? Are you addicted to the conflict? Do you need something? Does it need to feel hard to feel valuable? If
This
you
is
receive
this
easily,
conditioning again.
right, exactly. So what I would do with new information, sort of this is the one that I kind of came up with on my own, is I would do a wine tasting with it. So when you do light tasting, you pour information into a glass and you swirl it around. You see what color it is. You see how it moves in a glass, and then you smell it. You see if it smells good. Does it smell like
Interesting.
when you put it in your mouth and you roll it around your tongue, how does it feel inside of you? How does it, you haven't swallowed it yet, but how does it sort of, you're testing it out. And then if you do swallow it, how does it mesh with you? Because whenever you take in new information, you're putting it, you're measuring it against the information that's already present inside of you.
Mm.
And so how does this? And so old information that doesn't mesh with it will either get, thrown away, or the box that you put it in will be expanded.
Mm-hmm.
Your understanding.
Yes, yes. And I found it's beautiful that we had a lot of practical examples how you can find out for yourself if something is on a system level, not on an ego level, right for you.
Right.
And I found it's a beautiful point to come to an end here with this. And I thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk with you once more. And I don't know if you have something you would like to give our spectators on the way, something you wish for them, or final words.
I have such respect for you. I don't know you. I mean, I know Kaija, but I don't know you, the viewer. And I have such respect for you. And no matter who or where you're at, I wish you well. I wish you a lot of joy and a lot of contentment and peace and certainty within the uncertainty. And I thank you so much, Kaija, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you and being my friend and my teacher. And we were all teachers, we're all students. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful identity to be comfortable in, and it makes us safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
To know that we don't know.
Thank you very much, Tia. I like your final words a lot. They touched me. And just to finish this quickly, I just had the pleasure and the opportunity to get a beautiful and very powerful session with Tia as well. You're doing card readings and intuitive readings and working with energy as well. And if somebody's interested to contact her, you will find all the contact information in the description box. And you have a product page as well, Avalon Rising on Facebook. I will put this in the information box as well. And I give sessions as well, and working with my heart.
Incredible, powerful sessions I've had as well. So yes.
And I can say with all the best, we are entering high charged energy, changing times, and a lot of chaos will come. And stay well, stay grounded, drink a lot, go in nature, go in the sun whenever you can, and connect with your heart.
Yeah, and try and detach from belief systems that maybe we were using, detach as much as you can, because what it could be is amazing. There is no limit.
Okay, all the best and love, and thank you, Tia. Thank you so much. We stay in contact.
Thank you.
Bye.